What's up? It's your boy Carcino here. Let's get into it. Patreons, you'll be the first one to hear this. I don't know if they would. I might release it to them. David Stern, for 28 years, 30 years, whatever, was the NBA commissioner. Adam Silver was brought in, little scrawny kid, with visions of marketing. He's a great businessman. So when people followed him, they followed him based on these tropes. They was like, hey, David Stern is nearing the end. But what's been reported wasn't the case at all. 2 years prior, David Stern was going to step down. It was announced that David Stern is going to leave. And the reason for this was he was getting ready, or he was being looked at as a stickler to the rules. David Stern was going to ban these headbands that everybody was wearing. He was not accepting to the hip hop culture and to basketball. He liked clean rap. It was too much filth coming into the league, as what he had called it. And some of the players were rebelling against David Stern, that he was out of touch. And he's too old school, and he's going to upset the new era, the new regime, and it's going to affect the collective bargaining agreement. So, on the heels of all of this going on, the new direction of the NBA with the young players coming into the league, David Stern says, they was like, look, you're hot right now. You're making comments and doing things that are against our new direction of where we're going. And David Stern seemed very, homophobic in his ways and some of his views and his approach. So they didn't want him to feel this way. So the league and everyone else thought it'd be best if he was to step down. There was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, really ugly. And he was kind of forced out of position. But they were going to let him stay on as an advisor, which means that he's still going to get his money. He's still going to be able to do whatever he wants and basically still be the commissioner of the NBA. But he's just going to be an advisor now. They can just call him for advice if they need it on something. So, in 1992, Adam Silverslipper came into the game. He actually had a little hair back then, And it's a thankless job, but he didn't care for it. All he wanted to do was to work in the NBA and promote on a big stage, and everyone was satisfied. So once he was brought in, he stood out at his task of helping the NBA grow in the charitable donations and putting together events like NBA Cares. This is mostly his claim to fame. Like Adam Silver went out his way to be the end all be all and to get the attention of everybody at the NBA office, to make sure they knew who he was and his energy and this zest for life. went to Duke, was in a fraternity, always is in politics. And he worked for the House of Representatives. He was an aide for the House of Representatives. Then he came to the University of Chicago. Yep, he came here, got his law degree, graduated, and when he decided that he's going to leave his law firm, he came over to the NBA, where he doesn't practice law. But he's involved in the negotiation process, right there with David Stern. Now, Stern would bring him along because he's a slimy little bastard. And he's basically Igor or Rensfield. You know, these guys who are diehard servants. Right? The Michael Jordan IMAX movie, To the Max, that came and released on IMAX only in the year 2000, 2 years after Jordan retired. And it showed Michael Jordan and the Max. He was the executive producer of that. That was his idea to bring that to the IMAX. He produced all of these new age things like the movie Like Mike, The Year of Yao Ming. He went to the promotion for that. He was all about international affairs. Whatever happened to Michael Ray, the basketball player? He came up with that. He got Chris Rock to come in and narrate it. He wanted to show that we are diverse. That's why they wanted Adam Silver Slipper to get involved. The NBA Development League, the G League, the NBDL. These are the things that he was a part of. Now, not giving all the credit to him, but he had a very intricate plot and a very intricate part of helping excel these new parameters. He wants to help grow the WNBA. Well, when will they do that? Well, you have to understand that when you've been getting away with some of the things that this man was getting away with in office, you gotta say, well, this guy's a shoe-in, right? This guy, Adam Silver, he's supposed to be, this is it. He was supposed to be the commissioner of the NBA. But this wasn't the plan. This was never the plan. Because all of this that I've just told you is a smokescreen. You see, when people want to discredit you, take from your work, make you just what they want you to be, the NBA commissioner was supposed to be Stu Jackson. And you might say, Stu Jackson, who the hell is that? Especially if you're younger. Stu Jackson is someone that basically has no connection to anything but is attached to all of it. Stu Jackson worked hand in hand with Adam Silver and David Stern. Matter of fact, Adam Silver was under him for years, learning. When he came into the league and was working and had the job that he had, meaning Adam Silver, Stu Jackson was with the Vancouver Grizzlies organization, helped running that when they got started after being the Knicks head coach. Then Stu was brought into the NBA office. And why people don't really understand that, oh, well, Stu is more than just the Knicks coach. He only coached the Grizzlies, I think, 1 year. And that's because they needed him to while they facilitate what they were going to do. His coaching days was pretty much over. But he knew the game of basketball, something that Adam Silver didn't know. Didn't know basketball. He's a political science guy who knows nothing really about the game. And it screws up everything because no one wants to cover the history of the person that's really doing the job. Stu Jackson was key to bringing in the WNBA in the women's group. And Stu Jackson was supposed to get this job. All the work he's done in the field with all the coaches, the colleges, the universities, more diverse. He was the guy that was the president of basketball operations, but they made him the senior vice president of basketball operations. Stu never caused any waves. Stu was ingenuitive as a coach, as a businessman, and Rod Thorne, who was the deputy, knew Stu and knew what he brought to the table. Everywhere you would see David Stern, you would see Stu as if it was his bodyguard. And Rod Thorne said, Stu's our guy. Seconded. So when you see people who are not really basically in the know, you're looking at a situation where this is going to come to a head. When the decision was made, and they named a successor, and the successor was going to be Adam Silver, not Stu Jackson. In 2010, they told Stu, stick around because this is going to get to a point where you're going to regret it if you leave because Stern is near the end. And they said it in 2010. 2 years later, he makes the announcement. And they said, well, do you have a planned successor? And he says, right now, it seems to be Adam Silver. The league had made it clear that Adam Silver is ready to lead the charge. Stu Jackson finds this out and couldn't believe what he was hearing. After he had been told, and he had stuck around all these years because he was guaranteed the job. But they feel he lacks in more legal situations and legal knowledge. He's got the basketball aspect of it, and Adam's going to need you moving forward. And Adam, it's not like Adam's going to have this job forever. You're going to be the guy after Adam to take over. We want you to learn more about, shadow him like he shadowed David Stern and for all these years, and you can go ahead and take over. And he's like, I did shadow David Stern. I know everything David knows. I know everything legally. You know I know it. But why he didn't get the job? Because Adam Silver was something that Stu Jackson could never be. He's a Jewish man. That's why he was really selected. Let's be honest. That's what this was all about. He never commanded the respect of the players like Stu Jackson. David Stern had more of an effect. There was a fear when he came around. When David Stern walked into a room, players, they stood at attention, like, something's wrong. They say David Stern wants to talk to you. People be cringing like it was their teacher and principal, grown men. He was the emperor. And Adam Silver is no Darth Vader. Sorry, he's not. Now, Stu was supposed to just, be Adam's right hand man through the whole transition. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. So Rod Thorne had to come out of retirement and be vice president again because he wouldn't play ball. And I commend that man for doing that because that takes a certain amount of guts and zeal to say, screw that. I'm not doing it. But that's why he got the job. Now, if you look at the approval rating and everything else, everything had went downwards under Adam Silver's watch. But unfortunately for Adam, he walked into a streaming world. Like David Stern never had to deal with that. And you never had the problems that you had before with when the technology changed. So I can't blame Adam Silver for the complete collapse of the viewership. But what I can blame him for is the collapse of play within this league. With the actual nightmarish views of what's been happening in the league, the unfair punishments and nonsense that they have in place in this league. The way the players are basically treated and how some players are even mocked was a little insulting to me. Players are willing to fight back more against this commissioner than any other time in history. We're letting social issues dictate basketball. We're letting propaganda and media and social media from people who don't even support the game. We're more concerned about that than the actual game. And the players are noticeably getting tired. They don't fear this man, they don't respect him. He is someone that shouldn't have had the job. Stu Jackson should have had the job, and the game would be in a much better place. Adam Silver was following the plan of LeBron. He was there for the whole making of it. But he knew this is not sustainable. And for those who didn't know, the NBA was responsible for allowing LeBron to go to Miami. They knew, they approved the NBA special. And then when people was like, the audacity of them to have a special for a player saying where team he's going to, how dare them? You're putting one person above the entire league. And he ain't never won anything. They hadn't even done that for Kobe Bryant. But they did it for LeBron. And it backfired. Because, see, we hadn't all been brainwashed completely yet. And most of the people like myself and others were involved, and the people who used to watch the game, they were watching it like, hey, that's some bull. I ain't with this. So that's how the game moves forward. That's how it evolves. When you put your foot down and say, hey, I can't get with this, I can't do that. But now, all of these different issues and details have come into play. Social media now dictates. And you need someone who's going to navigate that. And Adam Silver is a don't rock the boat type of individual, and he works for whoever has the power. So he doesn't want to step on China's shoes because China is basically financing him. But we wouldn't have all of these issues if Stu Jackson was the NBA commissioner. Why wouldn't a black former basketball player who has coached, who has run an organization, who's now the commissioner of the league? That makes sense. Then a guy who looks like he never held a basketball day in his life, never managed an NBA team, never did any of these things, walk right into the door from basically working as a politician, a humanitarian, walks in and becomes the commissioner, ends up becoming the commissioner, rather, of NBA basketball. When David Stern had Stu Jackson shadowing him for years. But he wasn't Jewish, so he doesn't get the job. How did Adam Silver move ahead of Stu Jackson? So Stu stepped down. Oh, he was the undoubt um, judge, jury, and executioner. You know, Joe Dumars now have this position that used to belong to Stu Jackson. Stu would hit everyone with fines. He knew how to hit people with fines, and they knew exactly how to move and navigate without having anyone, you know, in the whole circle of, where they want to go. You feel me? So all the politics and bullshit they put in place, this is the only one that made sense. So on that note, I'm gonna get up out of here, man. I just wanted to let you know all the bullshit that's been going on in this league. This is where it stems from. When you have a different type of leader in place, it's felt. It's felt deeply. So on that note, I'm out. I'm gonna holler at you.